The 10th chapter kicks off by reminding us of a few crucial details, like the connection between Fatima and Smiley, which is shutting down her vital organs but also allows her to affect him somehow, even to the point of halting his attacks. On top of that, we have the offer made to Henry to live in a perfect world alongside his son, who grew up as a real adult with kids and a family of his own. But the steep price for living in that place is murdering his son, the very one he spent years traumatized over in the town, far from his company. And let's not forget the previous episode's climax when Elgin uncovered the horrible truth and, instead of tipping everyone else off, went straight to Sophia to ask her why on earth she was in a photo from 40 years ago. Way to go, Elgin. Every single one of us would have done the exact same thing. But the absolute most important thing is the launch of the plan that could get everyone out of here and is putting multiple lives on the line. The plan that caused Victor to threaten them, landing him in a holding cell while the rest of the group gets ready to rip out the bottle tree to save Fatima and Jay, who are just about to find out if their idea actually works. Since the pile of bones they found is huge, they need more time to pack them into the bags. But time is the one thing they don't have. The monsters have arrived, and the only thing standing between them and death is a sheet of plastic and a talisman they've pinned all their hopes on. Just catching sight of the monsters through the plastic causes Tabitha to freeze for a few seconds, but Jay begs her to stay focused and look away. They have to get this done as fast as possible, since it looks like the plastic actually works, and the monsters can't break in. They quickly start stuffing the bones into the backpacks, trying not to think about what they are, focused only on moving as fast as they can before their luck runs out. And this is when Jay drops the harsh truth on her. Once the tree comes down, nothing will protect this chamber from the monsters, and he is going to sacrifice himself to hold them off long enough for her to get up the ladder. He lied because he knew it was the only way to get this far, and Tabitha has to be the one to break the cycle, since her kids deserve to go home, and there is nobody waiting for him. Once they have all the bones packed into the backpacks, Jay flashes the signal in Morse code, and the guys start ripping the tree out using the chains and the truck. Inch by inch, the tree begins to give and wobbles, but when the ceiling finally cracks open, the monsters burst into the chamber, just as Jay had anticipated. The guys are 10 seconds away from being eaten alive by those things. Luckily, the sunlight seems to affect them, keeping them from closing in for the time being. When the tree finally topples over, the hole it leaves is almost perfect, and the team gets ready to lower the ladder as fast as they can. Once the ladder is right in front of them, Tabitha starts climbing up slowly, but that's when we see the cuts Sophia made the night before, and the ladder can't hold their weight, snapping completely. The strangest part of all, and what nobody saw coming, is that the sky goes pitch black in the middle of the day, as if a massive eclipse just happened in a split second. Now the monsters are free to move around at will and corner the guys, who are left with absolutely no exit strategy. Once the darkness sets in, the monsters reveal their true faces and slowly close in on Jay and Tabitha, out to make them pay for breaking into their home and trying to steal what belongs to them. However, the eclipse doesn't come alone, and the entire cavern begins to shake. In a single instant, a massive earthquake hits, putting everyone's lives on the line, including the terrifying creatures that were just about to tear our protagonists apart. The earthquake puts absolutely everyone at risk. Every single house, the police station, and the lives of the townspeople hang in the balance for a few seconds, but that tiny window of time allows Tabitha and Jay to flee through the tunnels. Now, Boyd and the rest of the team have to follow suit. Since they are stranded in the middle of the woods without any weapons, and the rest of the monsters have come out to hunt them down, they have to forget about Jay and Tabitha for now and scramble into the trucks as fast as possible to make it back to the safety of the town before they end up dead too. Back with the ground team, they can hear the monsters' shrieks right on their heels. This time, they've stopped their slow crawl, and for the first time in the entire series, we actually see the monsters sprinting in a full-blown chase. After trying to escape through different paths, Tabitha makes a wrong turn and ends up leading them into a cave where there seems to be some kind of window made out of bones. The only problem is that the monsters are right on their tails. At that exact moment, the earthquake strikes again, saving their lives once more. Inside the truck, Fatima is completely losing her mind. Seeing the monsters has done something to her brain, and the second Boyd gets distracted, she tries to grab his gun to end her life and put a stop to her suffering. The gunshot ends up up shattering the window, leaving Boyd with no choice but to use force to pin her down, barking at her to shut her mouth and stay still. But she keeps screaming and crying, making their escape way more complicated. The wreckage left by the earthquake inside the clinic has caused Fatima to lose her patience, making her ready to risk heading out into the dark to look for her friends. But Marielle tells her she can't do it, and that's when she drops the truth about her body's condition. Her heart is beating slower and slower, to the point where she shouldn't even be alive right now. The moment Fatima learns the truth, something even weirder happens, and her connection to Smiley kicks back in. She can actually see him closing in on the clinic, and she warns Marielle that they need to lock all the doors immediately because that thing is about to show up. The problem is that when they look for the talisman, it isn't where it's supposed to be, meaning the earthquake might have knocked it down, so they need to find it as soon as possible. Marielle spots it under a heavy shelf and crawls over to grab it, but the exact second she gets her hands on it, Smiley has already pushed the door open and burst into the clinic. She has no choice but to bolt into another room with her friend and try to secure it before the monster catches up to them. Unfortunately, that plan fails, and Smiley manages to corner them. The moment he locks eyes with Fatima, he calls her mother and smiles in a deeply creepy way. Her friend tries to defend her, but that only triggers the creature's rage, and he reveals his true face before lunging at her. In a split second, Smiley wrenches the knife away from Marielle and uses it to slice her stomach open, nearly cutting her in half. Right then, Fatima screams at him to stop, and something in the monster's brain seems to completely malfunction. After doing his dynamic damage, the monster backs off with his grim smile and tells her he'll see her real soon, leaving Marielle bleeding out on the floor with a wound so severe that Christy wouldn't even stand a chance of patching it up. Just as Smiley is walking out of the clinic, the truck pulls up, and Christy notices him smiling at her, so she barks at Ellis to hit the gas. She manages to get inside just in the nick of time to say goodbye to her love. The only thing Marielle asks her for is one last kiss, and right after that happens, she peacefully passes away. Next, the narrative cuts to the diner, where we find out that Sophia hasn't killed Elgin. Instead, she is offering him the exact same deal she made with Clara: freedom from this place in exchange for his help. The games she's been running have taken up way more time than they should, and even though she is having a blast, she needs some partners in crime this time around. Sophia tells him the only reason it's pitch black outside is because the end is drawing near, and nobody makes it out alive in the end, except for the ones she handpicks. So now he is staring down a major decision, and she urges him to be reasonable. The moment Sophia turns her back, Elgin tries to make a run for it, but Clara steps right in his way. That's when Sophia realizes he is going to be a much tougher nut to crack. So she demands his hands to seal the same blood pact she previously made with Clara, but Elgin starts to pray, and that completely sets Sophia off. With just a touch of her hands, she triggers a massive heart attack right then and there. A few seconds later, blood starts pouring from his eyes and mouth, and death comes for the boy. The strangest part is that at that exact moment, the sun breaks through again. Sophia steps out, telling Clara to get rid of the body as fast as possible before anyone sees it, since, as she mentioned before, the end is closing in. In his room, Henry is cleaning up the mess from the earthquake and wondering why it went pitch black in the middle of the day. It's a question Donna has no answer for, though she is just as worried about the ground team. But this kind of event only proves to Henry that this place might not even be real, and that his son on the outside might be completely right. Donna suggests that the best thing he can do right now is head over to the station to check on Victor, but Henry refuses. He hasn't made up his mind yet, but this is where his son's words finally click. Once he agrees to do it, this world will provide everything he needs, and right as he picks up a can from the floor, he discovers 3 bullets inside. Donna tells him that Victor used to keep a gun in his lunchbox before Boyd confiscated it, so it's most likely sitting at the police station. It's just like the Victor on the outside told him. This world has handed him exactly what he needs to kill his son, the one living in this fake world, and once he pulls the trigger, he can finally get out of there to live the life he always deserved. With the bullets in his hand, Henry can't believe what's happening, and right then Donna steps up and tells him he needs to go downstairs and see his son, emphasizing it's the most important thing he can do right now. So just like his son's vision told him, he now has everything he needs and the perfect opportunity. All he has to do is take it, get the gun, and use those bullets to murder his fake son. That way, he can finally escape this place by destroying the anchor tying him down. Meanwhile, Boyd makes sure everyone is dropped off safely at Colony House and then hooks back up with the team to find out what went down at the clinic. Once Fatima tells him that the monster just smiled at her and called her mother, it becomes crystal clear that their connection is way more real than they ever thought. When Boyd steps into the room, he just finds Christy clutching her lover's body, completely refusing to let go. So he just walks over and wraps his arms around her, promising they will do whatever it takes to make things right. At that exact moment, the scene cuts away, and we see a series of red lightning bolts bursting out of the hole where the tree was ripped open, lighting up the sky and triggering a storm unlike anything they have ever seen before. The lightning is so intense and frequent that it gives everyone goosebumps, making it feel like a bolt could strike the ground at any second, bringing the very death they've all been dodging. Staring up at the sky, Randall has no choice but to snap at Boyd and ask what the hell they just did. And yeah, this really looks like the end of the line for everyone. Despite the chaos, the group manages to make it back to Colony House. The trouble is, when Tabitha's kids look around for her, they hit a wall with the bad news. They never actually got them out of the hole, and nobody has a clue where they are. Convinced their mom isn't coming back, Julie and Ethan head inside, completely numb to everything that's unfolding. But since their tears aren't the main focus right now, the narrative cuts back to Sophia. She slips into the church and steals the protective talisman, then takes off to repeat the same pattern elsewhere, making sure not a single house is safe by the time night falls. Meanwhile, Henry arrives at the police station and starts tossing the place upside down, looking for the gun, fully convinced he is stuck in a simulation or some twisted nightmare he desperately needs to wake up from. After tearing through every single drawer one by one, he finally finds a revolver in perfect working order. All he needs now are the bullets in his pocket and the guts to make the choice that's been tearing him apart, killing his son for a shot at escaping this place. Just as Henry slips the gun into his pocket, Kenny catches him and asks what he's doing there. Henry claims he's looking for his son, mentioning he heard he got locked up and just wanted to make sure he was okay. Before Kenny can press him with any more questions, Henry books it out of there. Back with the kids, Donna knows she needs to give them some kind of pep talk to keep their hopes up, but the second she gets them seated at the kitchen table, the cabinet doors start rattling violently, like a pissed-off ghost is pulling the strings, and plates start flying everywhere. Terrified, Ethan realizes everything is playing out exactly the way Victor warned him. Pretty soon, everyone is going to end up dead, becoming food for the old man in yellow, leaving him completely stranded just like Victor used to be, and he doesn't want that. Julie promises him that he will never be left alone, swearing she'll do everything in her power to keep that from happening. But looking into her eyes, you can tell that even the thought of doing something reckless is crossing her mind. At the station, Boyd is changing out of his blood-stained shirt. When Acosta gets back, she tells him they have to head right back to the hole. They can't throw in the towel, but he has no clue if Tabitha and Jay are even still alive. He doesn't know if that bizarre eclipse could strike again, so he isn't willing to put everyone else in jeopardy one more time. In a fit of rage, Boyd snaps that nobody is stepping foot outside or putting themselves in danger. But just as he tries to lay down the law, Sarah tells him to shut up and points out that the radio is buzzing to life, meaning Jay and Tabitha are still breathing and trying to reach them. Down in the cave where they got trapped, it's revealed that the earthquake completely sealed off the entrance, leaving them totally stranded with the bones in their possession, just praying for a rescue. The bad news is that the radio battery just died, and Jay has no way of knowing if the team even picked up his message. Now, they just have to cling to hope and wait it out, unless they can manage to smash the window or dig their way around it. Taking a closer look, we realize that Jay was dead wrong. It's not bones blocking their way out, but dry branches that could easily snap, or maybe they just don't run that deep. Meanwhile, back at the clinic, the guys have wrapped up Marielle's body to give her a proper burial, and even though Boyd desperately needs Christy's help right now, she is in no condition to give it. Looking completely checked out and running on pure grief, Randall and Christy head off toward the church, totally unaware that the protective talisman is missing and that they'll be sitting ducks the second night falls. Once they leave, Boyd lets the rest of the group know that Tabitha and Jay are still alive, announcing that he's heading back into the woods. He insists on going alone to avoid putting anyone else on the line, but his son asks what he's going to do if they're injured, pointing out that he can't carry both of them by himself and that playing the lone wolf sheriff just isn't going to cut it this time. Even though Ellis tries to hold her back, Fatima stands her ground as an adult and tells tells Boyd that she can sense the monsters, meaning she can act as his personal danger detector down in those tunnels. As for Henry, he's in Victor's room loading the bullets into the gun. Just 2 seconds later, his son knocks on the door, forcing him to slide the weapon under the bedsheet, hoping to have one last conversation before he has to pull the trigger. Victor talks to him about the eclipse and how terrifying the earthquake was, bringing up that they shouldn't be alone right now, and then asks if he's doing okay, since he looks a bit shaken up and sweaty. Henry just tells him he's been lost in thought. That's when Victor opens up and asks if he did something wrong, admitting he noticed Henry has been avoiding him and doesn't want to spend time around him. He tells him that whatever it was, he wants to apologize for everything, for lying to him, and for telling him about the man in yellow and what happened to Mom. Victor pours his heart out to his dad, begging for forgiveness over and over, wanting nothing more than for things to go back to how they used to be so his dad can trust him again. But right then, Henry pulls out the gun and starts telling him about the wonderful life he has waiting on the outside and the offer he was given. The only thing he has to do right now is destroy the anchor and shoot him so he can finally reunite with his real son and the family waiting for him out there. With the gun pointed directly at his face, Victor tries to tell him that those things lied to him, that there is nothing waiting for him on the outside except for him, and that it's time to stop. He doesn't have to do this. He's just confused. Just as Henry is about to pull the trigger, Ethan bursts in and screams at him not to do it, but Henry ends up swinging the gun around toward the kid. Since he's got 3 bullets, he can't risk letting him escape. After a few seconds of pure tension, Victor finds his courage and lunges at his father, knocking the gun out of his hand and demanding asking him why on earth he is doing this. Victor yells that, out of everyone in this place, he was the one who was supposed to protect him, leaving Henry with nothing left to do but weep and apologize, sobbing that he just wanted to be with him in the outside world. At that moment, the scene cuts away, and we see Sophia wrapping up her route, stealing every single talisman, and making sure the upcoming night is going to be incredibly dangerous for everyone. One of the last places she hits is Jay's house, where she hooks up with Clara, who has also been doing the exact same thing, helping her swipe all the talismans. Once Sophia has every last one of them in her possession, she takes off to hide them where nobody will ever find them. Back with Boyd, he, his son, and Fatima are standing at the cave entrance, ready to head inside and find their friends. But before taking the risk, he warns them that if things go sideways, the two of them need to run as fast as they can. He knows these tunnels better than they do, and they shouldn't look back for him. So, after his son promises to leave him behind if things get ugly, they brace themselves and go in. After a while, Tabitha realizes they can't keep digging with their bare hands. Jay's fingers are already bleeding, leaving them with no choice but to start using the bones as makeshift tools to scratch their way out. But the moment Tabitha picks up the skull of one of the children, it's as if she can instantly recognize them and see every single moment they ever approached her. She can see them smiling and happy, which gives her a major surge of hope that she can actually do something to finally set them free. Once the group gets deeper into the tunnels, Fatima's senses sharpen, and she suddenly barks at everyone to freeze and keep quiet. Moments later, the sounds of the monsters moving away echo through the dark, proving that her ability actually works. After a few minutes, Boyd manages to track down Tabitha and Jay, helping them break through the wood blocking their exit, while Fatima tries to use her connection to guide the monsters away and buy them some time. Realizing their bare hands won't cut it, Boyd pulls his gun and shatters the wood with 2 clean shots, letting the guys scramble out. Against all odds, they are back together. This is where the plot drops a massive bombshell that nobody saw coming. Fatima screams at them to run, leaving Ellis to watch in horror as she transforms into one of those creatures. Her fingers stretch out and her nails grow until they look like straight-up switchblades. She has chosen to stay behind to take on the monsters herself and get payback for what they did to Marielle. The season finale wraps up with Sophia crossing paths with the boy in white, who warns her that the humans have the bones and that she's going to lose this time. But Sophia just shoots back, telling him she's always admired his optimism, mocking that it's so refreshing every single time she locks in another victory. 2 seconds later, Sophia drops all the talismans down a hollow tree, making sure nobody can ever get them back, and guaranteeing that the slaughterhouse the town becomes every night is about to happen all over again.